lost her hair, she's like and like on days she has to sometimes face.
Feel free to move up to these spaces up here, second person. So. Okay guys, is everybody? We're going to start. So thank you for coming tonight, for coming back. So we're going to do some great work tonight. If there are any people here on the committee that tonight that were not here on our kickoff meeting, just a very, very brief recap. We reviewed the OFCC and planning guidelines information as well as our current building conditions, scope and cost and so forth. And we played that in a little Jeopardy game just to make sure everybody was informed on the information. We also reviewed the outcomes of the educational visioning session that was held about 2 weeks ago. That included guiding principles, information. They went through an exercise of drafting a preferred master plan option as well as vision in a word, their one-word statement about what they felt represented Canfield schools. We also had a little master planning feedback session that was through Slido and your phone. And then we spent the last part in a breakout session that really just told us your feedback on the educational visioning session's preferred master plan option, what you liked and what you didn't like. But tonight, we're going to spend the majority. Remember I said at the last meeting, and I totally did this random, because it's out of sequence usually for us, I said, who wants to talk about sites? Everybody raised their hand. So we're going to spend the first part of this presentation, which will take about 10 minutes, talking about district-owned sites. There's so much information. We're just going to start giving you basic data and stats on district-owned sites as we get master plan options, get a pulse on those directly from you. We can look at exploring additional land if that's applicable, to what you've recommended. And then the biggest part of tonight, and I told you last meeting, it's going to be less of us up front, more of you guys working in groups, is giving you all the pieces and parts to create your own master plan thoughts, your initial feedback on preferred plans. We sent that out as homework. We'll talk about that in a few minutes. So part of the homework was to augment, give comments, feedback on the guiding principles that the educational visioning group developed. If you brought those here tonight, we'd ask you that we please turn them in. If you brought paper comments, at the table where you signed in on your way out. We're also going to send out a link for you to be able to submit those electronically to us so that we can compile them and at our next meeting give you an update to this short list of guiding principles. So with that said, we are going to dive right into district-owned sites. We're going to talk about your exercise and then we're going to move back to that side of the library because those tables are much more conducive to group work. So I'm going to turn it over to Joe.
All right, good evening everybody. First of all, I have a list of all of you in your emails, I hope. I've gotten some conversations over the last week that some of you aren't getting emails from us. And everything that you get from the committee comes from my office, my secretary. So before you go home tonight, if you say, hey, you know what, I'm one of them people that's not really getting what I think I should be getting, please find me, okay? And I know Stacy, you and I have talked a couple of times. He's a school employee, and we're getting caught somehow, okay? So if you're one of those people, just catch me before you leave. I'll highlight you, and we'll spend some time. Maybe we got a number wrong or a letter. I mean, obviously, that's all it takes. I know if you're a Zoom, is it Zoom internet person? We don't work well with you for whatever reason. We've had people call us and say, hey, I'm not getting things, and if you're a Zoom person, there's been some conflicts in the past, and we'll try to work through that with you, okay, moving forward. So, TDA is going to allow me to talk a little bit about sites that the district owns tonight, okay? And we're going to go through that somewhat quickly to get you to the meat and potatoes for tonight. Next time we get together, what I thought I'd like to do is kind of talk to you a little bit about my body of work on other properties around the area. And some conversations I've had with some property owners. I mean, really, whatever you all decide as far as our master plan is going to kind of dictate where that goes. A couple of years ago at this time, the group in here said, okay, we're going all in. Okay, as you remember, we want a campus environment, and they looked at me and said, Joe, go find us 100 acres. Buildable, by the way, buildable acres. And that's what I try to do. Okay, so that's really what a lot of this conversation is going to be leading up to. People have asked me, so what do you need? Like, how many acres do you need for a building? Okay, so here's what the OFCC says are recommendations. Okay, now, obviously, there's no requirements here at all, but this is what they say based on their body of work and how many years of doing buildings. Sure, I don't even know, a lot.
For 25 years,
yeah,
that's
20
their ideal.
Yeah, 20 plus years. So, for example, if you're going to build a K-12, what they say is, hey, you need at least 40 acres plus 1 acre per 100. So, for example, if you're Canfield, we got about how many kids in the district? Give me the number.
2,500.
About 2,500. Okay. So you take 40 plus 25, you get about 65. And here's the key: buildable. Okay. So things like creeks, all right, water issues, that doesn't help us. Okay, because you can't build on that. And as you work your way across, okay, 6 through 12 is 35. A high school, same. So we were looking at a pre-K-8, if you remember, okay, early on there. So pre-K-8 is 20 acres plus 1 acre per 100. Just so you know, we average about 400 plus in each elementary, if you just want to use some round numbers. So take 400 for elementary, take 800 for middle school and high school, just to come up with something that's easy. That's kind of where you end up. So an elementary school there on the backside, 10 acres plus 1 acre per 100. So that's kind of like the starting point, okay, as far as the OFCC, when they come out and talk about, okay, here's what you need. But once again, the key for us is building. Okay, you got to be able to build on it. Okay. So let's start with what we own. Okay, everything in red there is what we have. So as you can see, I got our four buildings here. Okay, Hilltop, Middle School, High School, and CH. And way up north there is Shields Road. Okay, and as most of you know, that Shields Road property is in the township, okay? Which puts an interesting wrinkle on some things. And as we continue down this road, we'll talk more about that. But that's the first thing that you really got to know about that. So let's talk about the high school, okay? You're sitting in it. About 45 acres all in, okay, across the board there. About 164,000 square feet. Got a lot of parking out there, as you know. And the majority of this site is parking and the building and play fields, which, I'll be honest with you, you can't have enough of those. Grass, okay, to practice and play. You know, and as you guys know, all this up here, I mean, these are all practice fields, and they get used a ton summertime, and flag football out there, and soccer like crazy, all that kind of good stuff. So, when we went to all the different buildings, we had a lot of great conversations. Those things are all recorded and online for you. But, you know, one of the big things that our principal talked about here was when it rains here, and it's bad. We got a lot of drainage issues. Mr. Stacks up here, our maintenance guy, second in that motion. So those are some things that sadly we kind of deal with as we move forward with the high school. Built 1966, okay? So here's the middle school. As you know, 100 plus years of the original part, 1922. It sits on about 9 acres to the west there. This is Wadsworth running north and south. You can't see that. Okay, that's Wadsworth. To the west of that, 9 acres, a little bit more building stuff. On the east side, about 3 acres of parking lot and bus garage. That's what's sitting up here, okay? Is what you have there. So 12 acres all in, 168,000 square feet, okay, 3 floors. So it goes up, doesn't go out, goes up. You know, Mr. Rubin talked about one good thing about that. Boy, it's in a good spot. It's in a good spot, okay, located very, very nice for us in the district. We have a lot of problems with flooding on this side. This was a new addition, 6th grade. And this was prior to my arrival, but I can't remember the year. But we had a real bad rain, and got a lot of flooding in that neck of the woods. Because if you see the back of that building, it's a huge downslope, So, another nice thing is I got police and fire, I could throw a rock at them right there, right, they're that close. In our bus garages in a good proximity as well. So 1922 for that original building. Tell me to speed up too if I need to, Michelle.
No, you're doing good.
So here's CH. Okay, here's CH. It sits on about 14 acres, 59,000 square feet. Okay, and as you all know, we got K4 in there, right? Okay, K4s are elementaries here. Kind of smack right dab of a nice little neighborhood back in there. Kind of like one way in, one way out. A lot of woods on the southwest. Basically, we kind of come in two ways. You know, we try to use this deer trail. We upset a lot of parents a couple of times during the day on that. And obviously, there's some more than coming in there as far as traffic flow goes. Folks that live in that neck of the woods know that we've got a lot of issues with water and drainage out there as well. And, you know, site congestion. From my notes, I put 1961 when that building was put up. And then Hilltop, it sits on 23 acres, 59,000 square feet. That number sounds familiar, doesn't it? I mean, those two elementaries, almost two peas in a pot when it comes to square feet. I think there's like 60 different, that's it. It's in a nice spot. We got some interesting, you know, with woods and things there, but as far as the neighborhood, it just kind of sits right there in that neighborhood as well. A lot of woods to the north there. Does anyone know what this white thing is?
Water tower.
It's a water tower, yeah. It's a water tower sitting there. City owns that, obviously. That's the water tower right there. And obviously, Mr. Flood talked a lot about it's a nightmare when it comes dismissal time, pickup time, that kind of stuff, just because there's a lot of action going on there at that facility. So in my notes, I wrote down 1970. Okay, 1970. So this is our last one. So here's Shields Road, 23 acres-ish, with some farmland, as I said, in the township, right? Once again, interesting dynamic there. We'll talk more about that. I invoked a traffic study, all right, to find out exactly if we put a building on there, what this would look like. And I got the traffic study back, and Cheryl and I don't know, was this new for you to see one of these, or just me? Just me, right?
The magnitude
Yeah.
of this surprised
Okay,
me.
so this was my first experience, but there's a lot of moving parts in this thing, and we're trying to digest it, but here's the deal. If you put a building there, things with the roads have to change, right? Like, if you've ever gone to Streetsboro's new school, as you're heading up 14, okay? What they did there is awesome, and I could see something like that having to happen here. Basically, you gotta have like a turn lane, okay, you know, coming in and coming off of that. So we are meeting with those guys to try to get a better understanding and a dollar amount. That's kind of where I'm at here. What's that gonna cost? And because it's in the township, we are governed by ODOT's rules. ODOT, they have precedent here. Versus if it's the city, it's a different set of rules. So some things I wrote down there. The district purchased that property in 2000. Cost us about $430,000 at the time, as well. But you know, 23 acres, we own it, and you know it's a viable location. But like I said, just going down on kind of where this committee goes as far as what we can do to put something there. But that's a quick 10-minute. I hope I didn't go too long there. 10-minute kind of overview of what the district owns as we stand here today. Okay, site-wise. So, any questions on any of those? Go ahead, Jill.
Can you point out on two properties, on Hilltop, do you know exactly where there's been a talk of a gas line, like a natural gas line that runs
Right.
through that property?
Yep.
Do you know where that exactly is?
Yep.
And how much property, how many acres does that take off of what we
Sure.
have to build on?
So there's a pipeline, but actually there's two. There's two pipelines underground at Hilltop. And don't quote me, because this has been a long time since I've been here, but I think one's 20 and one's 26-inch diameter. And it's a natural gas, okay, but there's two. So here's how it runs. It runs parallel to Route 11, and then it kind of shimmies up here. And do you see how there's like a clearing here? There's a reason for that. Guess what that is? That's the pipeline, okay? So it shimmies up here, okay, about 11 parallel, and then comes right across, and then it actually comes over here and starts heading north. Okay, and I could draw that up a little bit better for next meeting if you'd like to see that. You can actually go online and see these things too. I mean, they're not like secret, information or whatever. But that's what the pipe, now, your other question about how much do we lose?
Like, yeah, what are the
Here's
requirements?
what I think I remember, but like I said, please don't quote me, because it's been a long time. I believe there's a 30-foot easement on both sides of that pipeline. Now, here's what you can't do. You cannot build on a pipeline. Like, I can't put a school, but you could put a practice field, grass. You could put a driveway, probably. They might say, maybe don't do that, but because if they gotta get in there and do something, we'd have to dig in there. But you can do some things like that, and I'll be honest with you, TDA will tell you this, they build schools right up to pipelines. It happens. I don't know if you can give us an example off the top of your head, but, the 30-foot easement part is critical. You can't do anything there. Can't do anything.
And the good thing is that these are running parallel, they're side by side.
Yeah.
So they're not on two separate parts of the site, so
Right.
that area that he called out is the impacted area.
Yeah.
We're not, at least,
Yeah, so it's gonna affect us. At the end of the day, that's why you have people that do this for a living. They'll be able to position things and put things, if we decided to add something onto that property, but there are gonna be some limitations. But to her point, it's actually a pretty good setup. And I believe those pipelines were put in the ground in 1963. 1963. Somebody's gonna fact check it, I hope I'm right. But I'll clean all that up, because like I said, it's been a while.
The other one was at the high school.
Okay, let's go back to the high school.
I know that recently there was, some kind of an agreement with the city about putting some drainage in. Can you kind of direct where that's gonna
Yeah.
go at?
Right here, there's gonna be an underground storage tank. Okay, there's gonna be an underground storage tank. Now, I gotta be honest with you, that work was supposed to be getting done, but there's been some changes with the city. Okay, I won't go any further. There's been some changes, and that project's kind of been put on hold. But the board agreed, and I'll be honest with you, this has nothing to do with the school. This has everything to do with all these people that live over there. That's all this is, because instead of getting your house flooded, we're gonna put an underground, well, not we, the city's gonna put an underground storage tank in there, okay? We're gonna cover it up, we're gonna grass it up, we'll play soccer and flag football and whatever, and have a band, right? The band will continue to practice there. But this little spot right here, for lack of a better term, is what the board agreed to do. Mr. Madison?
The gas line easement that you mentioned
Yes.
for Hilltop, does that pertain to, say, driveways and parking lots as well?
Okay, so here's what I believe. You can put a parking lot over top of the pipeline, okay? Grass, parking lots. Don't know if that's gonna be a good recommendation, but I think legally we're allowed to do that. You just cannot put a building over top of it.
And the easement means that if you do put a building, it has to be 30 feet away?
Correct. If that's the correct number. Like I said, I gotta go back and refresh my mind, but I think I'm pretty close to that.
It's 30 feet, at least in the notes from the last study, 30 feet.
That I said?
Yeah, you're right.
God bless you. I'm glad you guys can remember that. Well, you wrote it down.
I did.
You're smarter than me. Man, was that my boy Joe Chupka, by the way, too? Was it Joe? Did I give you that name?
No, he
It
never
wasn't
called
Joe?
back, no,
Okay.
it was another guy.
Yeah. You're making me go back to too many things here. Been Ron, it's been like 2 years ago.
Good for you.
Yeah. No, I'll tell you what, sure, back in the day, I gotta be honest with you, there's not too many superintendents that knew as much about pipelines as I actually. Really, I'm not gonna lie to you, but if you guys heard the Nexus pipeline, that was in my former district in Arlington, the Nexus pipeline. So I knew about pipelines before I came to Canfield, full disclosure, because that pipeline ran right through my district. And when that pipeline comes through your district, guess what you get? Money.
I was gonna say, at least you got money for
A
that.
nice funding stream. Not all that I was promised over there, trust me, it never works that way. But anyway, okay, I'm taking way too much time, but let's keep
No,
going.
the questions
Go
are
ahead,
good.
yeah.
How far left does the pipeline go? Like I see,
Here?
it's straight, but does
Okay,
it
it's coming up this way,
turn or anything?
and it projects, now, you know, this is just me without knowing, not having a map in front of me. It comes right across here, and then shimmies up north, and I think this is the Mike's property coming up here. Okay, for those of you over there by Hilltop, it comes up this way. But I'll have a better drawing next time.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's cut off, you can see this, so it really is about right here, and it
And then
goes
heads
north,
north.
and it actually crosses the highway and continues to the east of the Shields property, but it's
Yeah.
not on the Shields Road property.
Did I tell you I'm sick of pipelines? Did I mention that? I mean, seriously, it's at Hilltop, it's gonna shimmy north and not catch me at Shields, but I'm like, really?
Touching you everywhere.
Yeah, enough of that. Okay,
I have a question.
yeah,
Other than the traffic issue at the Shields Road property, are
Yeah.
there other landmines that we gotta worry about?
other landmines? Well, let me just say this. A landmine might be the township.
I mean, okay.
Okay, now, are you talking here? Just like,
Yeah.
just
Is
like
there anything
ground?
on that obstacles? Yeah.
Well, here's something that concerns me. Guess what you gotta have to have a school? You're gonna have water and sewer.
Right.
You're gonna have water and sewer. So now the conversation needs to be what exactly is out there. I think I know that answer. I think I do, but I'm gonna talk to some township people just to confirm. But here's what I think I know. Want me to keep going? Here's what I think I know. I think there's water there. That comes from where? The north, right? Youngstown Water. Whoever said that? Chuck, was that you? Yeah. Now remember, I said this is not city, right? It's not city. So there's not city water there. I also believe, and I haven't been to these fields in a while, I think there is sewer there as well. I think there's sewer. So if you're the superintendent, I'm thinking, wait a minute now, if I got water pretty close and sewer pretty close, that's a good day. Because if not, like if water's way north up in Austintown and I gotta move it down, last time I checked with my man Brett Norton, it's $1 million a mile to move it. I don't wanna get into that. So, I don't know if that answers your question, that might be a little more than what you were
Yeah.
looking for,
No,
but
just- I wanna know what
that at least gets us a pretty good, but like I said, Brian Governor, I don't know if you guys know Brian, township guy, I'm gonna reach out to him, because I think he knows just about everything in the township. So for, you know, if you guys, if we come back and say, hey, we want this building, we wanna put it there, then it's game on for me. And then we start trying to get a little deeper and come up with stuff. Yes, sir.
Where is State Route 46?
Say it again?
State Route 46.
Where is it?
Yeah,
Right over here.
right there.
Yeah,
Okay.
running north and south.
The Canfield water line is right there, right over there.
Yeah, Coco's is somewhere over here, right?
Right there.
Yeah.
Coco's is over there, okay? But that's city. When you come here, not so much. And that's not that far down the road, actually, maybe a half mile. I mean, it's not that far down. Yeah, it's not that far down.
About a mile going towards Rock City Road, there's a fire hydrant.
Yeah.
You do have city water there.
Down here.
It's just a matter of
Yeah.
tapping it in.
Well, I don't know if you heard what Scott said. Scott said city water's there. Okay, okay.
It's all
But-
Youngstown water. We all get our
Yeah,
water
yeah,
from Youngstown.
yeah.
But down Rafton Road, that's going to be the township. The
Mhm.
turnpike cuts the city off from the township, so everything below the turnpike is the city, everything above the township.
Yeah. Everybody see the turnpike down there at the bottom left-hand corner, a little bit? Okay, John, go ahead.
Yeah, I was wondering about the baseball field. We would still need to maintain access back to that portion of the site,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. In theory, yeah, in theory.
Who owns the baseball field?
Good question.
Baseball club.
Yeah, there's a baseball club organization. I mean, it's called McCune Park down there. So, and there could be some good conversations there.
I was gonna say, have there been discussions
No,
about baseball?
no, I don't know anybody down there yet. But like I said, if this committee said, hey, we want this building and we're gonna put it there, to me, I started engaging some folks here and saying, okay, what can we do? So, let's go ladies first. Yeah.
Just to confirm, so you said the acreage requirements are just suggestions?
Yes.
So we don't have to meet
No.
that to get funding?
But, yeah, we don't even, I don't think we need any of that right now.
Just Hilltop.
Just Hilltop.
We've done projects in the city of Cleveland on 5 acres.
Yeah.
They're
Instead of going this
flexible.
way, you go this way.
It's a recommendation for the most ideal situation for that type of school.
I'm stealing all your thunder here. We got a lot of work to do.
Well, I do want to, go
Yeah,
ahead,
keep
John.
going. Was there another, Mr. Arsenio?
I just have one more question, and it's
Yeah.
about LEED and sustainability. Is there any site that is, that has advantages in regards to LEED or a sustainable site? Don't, for funding, don't we need to have LEED involved?
We do, and I think that's more,
Okay, how about we pause here, because we use an acronym that some of you are like, what the heck was that? Okay, so let's talk about LEED certification, L-E-E-D. So which one do you want to take? John, you brought the question up, what's LEED certification?
It is, I don't even know what the acronym means.
Leadership for Energy and Environmental Design.
Yeah, so it's a program, or it's a, where you have certain, credits, given to, different aspects of not only building but site.
And energy
You would get
conservation
LEED
comes into
certified.
play, you know,
Yeah.
making good decisions about all
Yeah.
that. So the question is, does one of our sites help us more than the other?
And my answer is, I'm gonna put you in the parking lot.
There you
No,
go.
it was a great question,
That's fine.
but when we talk more about these sites and their feasibility and viability, that will be one of the
Okay.
components, which is a very, very good question. It's not the only thing, as you know, that contributes to LEED certification, but it is a big part.
Yeah, especially when you talk about sites like
I know,
like this
yeah.
versus the middle school site, which has almost an urban.
Right, he's
So,
100% right.
Urban sites, you're able to get, a little more points in regards, it's easier to get points on an urban site.
Correct.
That
So-
shouldn't dictate though,
No, it shouldn't, but
but
it
it
is
should be in the background.
yeah, it's another layer of evaluation.
Just so you guys know, LEED certification comes with the OFCC. If we move that way, okay, we got to play, you know, with
That's a
their
requirement.
recommendations, that's a requirement. Just like air conditioning, if we go OFCC, air conditioning is a requirement too, you know, thank God for that, but it is. But that's one of those interesting little puzzle pieces that, well, for 16%, which is what the state's gonna get, you know, is it worth making some of them decisions? But that's a little bit about my pay grade, but that's conversations we'll probably have down the road, so let's go ladies first, Stacy.
I'm just so that you can clarify this, the OFCC, I'll be honest, I'm a little confused. The 16%, we have to pay that up front, correct? So we pay it front and then they reimburse?
Yes, so, and I'll turn it over to professionals, but let me start with this. We are called an ELP district, E-L-P-P. And correct me if I'm wrong here, because I'm gonna keep talking, I'm gonna get myself in trouble. Basically what we have done is we have jumped our place in the pecking order of who's next for money. We are so far down, you are so rich in Canfield, state don't wanna hear from you. Now, don't quote me on this. Don't. Well, I'm probably stepping on some toes here, but that's reality.
It is.
I
It's
think
based on
we're
assessed
532.
Out of 609.
And somebody's gonna fact check me on that, please do. Give me plus or minus a couple, but I think I'm pretty close. So this project allows us to jump over all 500 of those people and get a chance to get some of those tax dollars.
And what project, like building a new, is it specific, we have to
No,
do something?
no, we get to pick the master plan.
Yeah, you can segment, that's why we keep talking about, like, what's the priority piece, because we know the need is so great, so what do we wanna focus on? But,
Is
you
it
can do it in
guaranteed
pieces.
they're gonna pay, I mean, this is guaranteed, they will give us the 16%.
You sign a contract with the state that they will reimburse you that money when it's your turn in line. What I cannot guarantee you is if government changes down the road, new governor, new administration, and the program goes away. However, it's been in place 25 years. It does have credibility, longevity
Could the
now.
reimbursement take a
We-
long time?
So it's really hard right now to predict, it's becoming a little bit further out because the cost of construction is increasing so much and they only get so much money a year. So, until they change that amount, that could speed it up. They had that tobacco lawsuit in the late 1990s, early 2000s that really accelerated the program. They were allowed to do they allowed them to do like 200, 300 districts in 10 years. It's,
So why, in the impression I'm getting with this, and math has never been my forte,
Oh, don't say that with Mr. Madison in the room. Come on.
My strong suit, but 16%, it's like, I feel like we're pushing this so hard. But then, and I talked to somebody else, and I privately said, I'm kind of confused. So I just stay quiet with this. And they kind of broke it down so I can understand it. And I was surprised that we push this so hard, the OFCC, when we're paying up front. There's no guarantees in this, it's a risk. So really, at the end of the day, we might fork it out without seeing it back on a good day,
Good.
maybe we won't. But why is this so
That's a
like
great-
make or break, it almost feels that way, like OFCC.
And so here's the thing, the standards with OFCC, other than the LEED and putting air conditioning in your building, it's so much mainstream with our standard in building construction that you're already gonna do those requirements anyway. So without them, you don't get a credit, you do that and maybe a little bit more and you get the credit. So that's the decision we all have to.
Yeah, it almost sounds like
May.
marketing.
It sounds what?
It almost sounds like a marketing thing, like do a little more. And
It's, I'm being honest, I mean, it's
Yeah.
LEED and it's.
These guys do this for a living.
Yeah.
This is what they do, to Cheryl's point. It's not like they're gonna give us something to
Yeah.
do that
I have
doesn't
no,
make sense.
we have no affiliation.
But it doesn't matter what we, we obviously still need to do something, so it's just kind of a
Correct.
bonus thing, so we're gonna do something anyways,
Yeah.
no matter
Right,
what
and
the
let-
OFCC exists.
If we build new buildings and OFCC program says you have to put in air conditioning, you say, I don't wanna go with OFCC, would you still want air conditioning in your buildings? You would. So that's what I'm trying to say, is most of the items are things you would do already. So just to stay on time, we're gonna take these last
Oh,
two.
you're gonna cut me off?
And
Okay,
then,
cut me off, cut me off.
we'll take
We're
the
good.
questions back and we'll upload them.
You're smart, I can't see who's behind you there. I'm sorry. Oh, yes.
Sorry?
That's okay.
Would you please, define to everybody here exactly what the definition of equity in Canfield means? I'm saying that because Mr. Knoll had used the statement about, we're wealthy here in Canfield. And that's sort of the personification that's been used over and over and over. But last week, when I spoke with you, your explanation to me said, am I wrong today? That it had nothing to do with our income or the value of our homes. It has everything to do with the value of the amount of property that we own.
And buildings.
And the structure on them. Everybody should understand clearly.
That is correct.
It's not because of what we make or don't make.
That was covered in one of the homework videos. There was a slide about the equity rate. It is based on your assessed valuation and a formula that equates the number of students that you have, and that's used for every district. So it's not your income per se, but if you live in a well-to-do area, and your properties are worth, more money than the district down the street, it's gonna put you up higher on that equity rate, yes.
Assessed evaluation
Assessed valuation
divided
and
by
number of students.
student enrollment.
Because
And
what
if your
you're-
evaluation goes up, which the reality is Canfield, you are, I can't say we because I don't live here, and our enrollment is flatlining, we're in a bad way. That's why we're not making ground on that equity ranking, which gets recalculated every
September?
September.
Somebody watched their video.
Yeah.
Yes, and if you would like.
511?
the homework-
Thank you, David.
Homework folder, we can put that list up there, and it could tell you the assessed valuation of every 609 school districts and how that rank is
Do we
calculated.
go down every year then? Because the
Everybody
property values
moves.
here keep going up,
It
so.
depends.
Yeah, it depends.
Because it's compared to everybody gets thrown in the hopper.
Somebody
so-
else moves, you could move, even though your assessed valuation didn't change, they're bumping you up or
So
down.
Dave just told me we're 511. He just went on to the OFCC site, thanks Dave for doing that. I don't know why I had 532 in my mind, so we're 511, like as we sit here today. Next September, it could be better, it could be worse, but everybody's thrown in the hopper, so good or bad, that's just how they calculate
And
it.
once you lock into an ELF agreement, that's the program we're in, then you do a segment and you're locked into that rate. If you move up and down in future years, let's say you go higher on the list, which means you get less money, it doesn't matter, because you've locked in that rate, that 16%, when you come to a project agreement with the state. That's the good thing.
Did everybody hear that? Because that's critical. That's really critical. Once you're in, you're in.
And it works conversely.
Yeah, that's true. That,
There-
yeah, and Canfield,
I think
okay, is
one
that
more-
my last question?
I thought there was one more, and then we're done.
Was it Mr. Madison? You already asked the question, how many
I
you
thought it
get?
was this gentleman in blue.
Oh, I was gonna let him go instead.
You're gonna defer to the senator from Canfield. Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Just for clarification.
Yeah.
Could you kind of mention this just a little bit ago? At some point, will we have to decide to go the OFCC route or not?
Yes. So
We'll
here's
have to-
here's
we'll
what's
have to
happening
decide.
now. We're using all their resources. We're begging and stealing and taking everything. I'm not gonna lie to you. Bill Prentisal's, I get attendance stuff, I'm gonna get a brand new, we're using them for everything. I
It's
can
at no
call,
cost to the district,
Yeah.
that's, they.
I can call them when it's crunch time and say, you know what, guys, thank you, but we are moving on without you.
And we would do that because we could get our project done at a lower cost? Would that be the?
I'm not gonna say that.
No, but would that be the reason we wouldn't go in that?
It could be, it could be,
What
or
would
we
another
could say,
reason be?
we don't want to be connected with the LEED certification.
Okay,
There's not many rules that I don't like.
but it would be
That's maybe one.
connected to money, yes?
Stacy, I don't know if I can say we're gonna get a
Okay.
cheaper deal going on our own. I don't know if I can say that. I
Well,
really don't.
What would the cutoff be? Like if we were only getting 8% instead of 16%?
I have no, I don't have the magic number.
Well,
I don't know
PDA
that.
would know, right?
That's-
Because you guys work with so many other districts
I
and
don't,
so
I
many
don't
other
understand
private.
that, what is the cutoff?
He wants to know, is there a magic number where you
When's
just
it worthwhile to
say?
go one way or
No,
another?
there's
Yeah.
not.
There's no
What's the
No.
determination there? What determines that?
The cutoff? There is no
Yeah.
cutoff, so.
I think he's asking what's gonna be our trigger point to say we're gonna walk away from OFCC versus
Yeah.
stay
That's something
aligned
we
to
have
them.
to come together as a group collective.
And to be honest with you, it's gonna be their decision. The board's gonna end up making that call. You know, do we wanna continue with OSCC? Do we wanna say we're moving on without you? But there's no magic number. You and I are math guys, we want a number, and I get
Right.
that. I mean, we'll crunch those numbers and look at it, but to me, that LEED certification
The
would really.
example was given about air conditioning, and certainly we're gonna build a building with air conditioning.
Correct.
Okay, but there's probably many other components to consider that maybe we wouldn't wanna comply with OFC.
Design review, interaction, the timeline that they have to review, all the design and the construction.
I
so
don't,
there's additional
I don't think
time.
there's as many as you might think there are.
I'm gonna help Cheryl bring it back in, just because from a
Yes,
timing
we need to
perspective,
go.
but I think this debate is kind of a little bit far out there before we even get to that
I
point. So we need to
agree.
probably align better on where we wanna go and what we wanna do from a building perspective, and then when we evaluate costs, we'll be able to determine, to your point, Stacy, as to if we're gonna walk away from certain components and say, let's not go with OFCC, or if we go ahead and try to get some money back and potentially go that
But
route.
the questions really speak to the enthusiasm that you all have and the genuine interest in doing this right.
Guys
So
did a
it
good
is
job.
appreciated.
Did a good
There's
job
so
there.
many layers
Thank
to
you.
this, we can't, thank you, Joe.
Yep.
We can't cover it all in one meeting, but I promise you we will. We have to take it chunk by chunk, right? So, part of your homework was, did everybody get this?
Yes, but this was a little confusing, like, we come
Go
back to
ahead.
numbers because, we see these numbers, and for me, and I don't know if anyone else feels this way, I'm confused of how did we come up with, oh god, my age here, 99, whatever, how did we come up with 84, like, how did we come up with these numbers?
Okay, so let me explain
This
this.
is a big, we kind of need to talk numbers, because that's how it narrows it down.
Okay, so I'll explain that right now. So how it works, it's all student enrollment driven. So whenever you have a building, whether it's elementary, middle, or high, or consolidated, you take the number of students in that facility that you're proposing, and then those students get assigned so much square foot per student. And the bigger the school that you're building, the less square foot per student you get. So it's not, apples to apples in each model. Then you got me so far?
So
Okay.
the number of students get signed as
A
square
square
foot
foot,
numbers.
yes. And then that translates into a cost per square foot for that model. So and I'll just point this one out for the new PK through 2 school, this is saying grades PK through 2, all of PK through 2 students in the district would be 576 students based on the enrollment projections. That gets assigned a square foot per student, which really is just dividing this by this, and you can see that. So it equals 67,000 square feet. And then the most current cost for an elementary school in this region is applied to that number of square foot, and you get 25 million.
Could I?
Absolutely.
So to me, what's confusing is, I understand now the formula, it just seems, I'm such a blunt person, trying to soften what I'm gonna say.
You don't have to
It just kind of seems crazy, like, and the thing, like, in the world today, if you go to the vet and you have no clue, so you're like,
Did you say go to the
the
vet?
veterinarian,
Okay.
and your dog is sick, and you're like, I'm so scared, and you're a new dog owner, and they're putting everything on there, and it's like $1,000 worth of stuff, but seasoned dog owners are like, yeah, I've been through this, I'll do this, it was $200, like, I feel like we don't, these numbers are just going off an equation, but if we really look at it, and we go into school and we see like, okay, here's the major things that need addressed, like, these things are expensive, like, oh, the paint is chipping, we don't need to have painters come in right now and spend thousands and thousands on that, you know, we can, you know what I mean, like, break it down, and it's like, wow, it turns out that 25 mil, and we reach out to the community, local contractors, if they're biting at it, and they're like, hey, my kids go here, I'll give you this off, and, you know, work something out. You know, if it comes in, maybe it won't be 25 million, you know what I mean, maybe it would be way less.
So you did compare like existing things that are chipping, so that's a renovation model, what you just, this is a new construction model, so it's a little different. You can, and you all, like in this high school, there was a renovation.
Yeah, there's some of these,
Yeah,
things
so-
after renovation, that's what I was going on, how do we
Yes.
get this number?
So this was just a starting point, when you come to renovations, and this is a good thing about the OFCC program, you can pick and choose. So this $50 million here in this schoolhouse here for renovating the high school, that's everything it takes to bring it up to building code and Ohio School
So
Design
like from
Manual standards.
formats to like paint.
But, yes, it's everything, to the same standard as a new school.
Yeah, but then I feel like we'll turn it down because it's too expensive.
But you can, and that was another example here, 20 million. Now, if you wanna see all the details of what this $50 million is, it is posted on the website, yes. In,
Click link, I was on there today and
it was in the homework with the videos, and
Okay,
those A
email.
through W charts and
the
so
email, not the website, the email.
No, it's in where your homework was on a website. There was a link sent to everybody to watch the videos.
And it's
Yes,
in Google Drive.
yes.
Yep.
So it's all there, but if you don't mind, see me after, and
Yeah,
I'll
'cause I
send
don't
you
know if I
exactly.
saw it.
Yes, so it is up there, and that's why we wanted
But
everybody.
yeah, I got that, so maybe I missed it.
Okay.
Cheryl, can I make a fair assumption that these prices could be on the high end?
Well, the way.
Because I'm dividing square footage, and I'm getting 213 square feet under the middle school, the first option, 213 square feet per child. That is well over
Which one are you dividing?
the first green one.
This is a renovation of the existing middle school, and what that's telling you, yes, is
Okay,
we're
so going to
oversized.
the new middle school, though,
Right.
126 square feet per child.
So I don't have the, it should be somewhere around 140, 150 square foot per student, something like that. And the costs are going nuts, we've gone up 30%.
No, I get that, but I mean, the ODE standards is 35 square feet per child, and we're giving them 126 square feet. So I understand like cafeteria, gymnasium, bathrooms all make up that
Fits,
square footage.
right, right.
But that seems like 100 extra square feet per child.
So you,
So I would make the assumption that 37 million was on the high end. Not saying it's incorrect, but on the high end, like we can say that is the highest it will go because we overestimated her.
so here's the caveat too. The enrollment, this is, remember I said it's all student driven? So enrollment projections, as Joe mentioned, are being updated right now.
Yep.
So this might change a little bit in the next week or so. We should have them within the next week. The enrollments have actually increased slightly. I don't know the magnitude. We don't know yet if it's slightly is what it's worded. So these are going to change. 37 million is that dollar per square foot is the current, from April of 2022 up until now, the current market condition. It will be updated again in April, and I'm told they're gonna go up 10%.
I just hate to like, feel like we gotta scratch this because those, there's no way that's gonna pass. We need to go
So-
down, like, right now, be that.
Kim, just to help you out, because I can see where you're stuck, and you're stuck on the number, and you think it's high. So to get to your specificity of like an actual amount, we would have to be able to draw it all out completely. But unfortunately, the way the state works and how we do it, we have to go bigger picture, align to certain things, then come back. So the numbers are there because we just have to use generic formulas based upon what they guide us to. So you're right, like if we broke it down and said we just need, you know, a roof like this, a floor like this, we could get accurate costs, but that comes at the end, unfortunately. We can't start from that and work our way that way. We have to kind of go bigger and then bring it down. But that's the guidelines we're given, and that's why we're stuck this way.
It's
So
back, Ohio does it backwards. A lot of states design first, and then they bid it out, and then the school district gets the bond money then. The problem, you know, is then you pay for that design services up front, which could be substantial. But your point is valid, but unfortunately in Ohio, that's not how it works. So what we have to do is say, mid-range expectations are going to cost this much in market conditions. As we move into the next phases of our meetings, we're gonna talk about LFIs. If you want elaborate materials like terrazzo flooring in your corridors, or, you know, I'm just saying.
We got a guy.
We have a guy.
Yeah, I'm not just not gonna go any further with that comment. But,
You get a good deal on that
again,
terrazzo.
these have been great questions. We get, we want to,
I got one quick.
all right, last one.
Approximately how long would the different options take?
I'm sorry.
Approximately how long would each of the different options take for renovation versus rebuild?
Well, as a broad range, Jeff, I haven't introduced Jeff, our chief architect at TDA, so now's a good point, but you answer that.
Yes, the question, for construction?
Just in general, so say renovating the high school versus rebuilding a new high school or whatever.
In terms of time frame you're talking about? I mean, it does all come down to scope. I mean, if you think about a brand new building, generally it's about, being very general again, about a year in design and 2 years in construction. That's how you can, and really renovation is probably, is not that different, I think, in terms of time frame.
The renovation be done over a summer?
Well, you know, again, it depends on what you're doing. When your summers are only like 2 months now, right, between like June and July and August, you can't do a lot in that time frame, so it's very difficult to do that. But again, that's, you know, if we're talking about doing phases, and you can do a renovation of one part, and you kind of break it into pieces so that you can do something over the course of the summer, or, you know, over several summers. I mean, that's discussion that has to happen well down the line in terms of, you know, how that can work. So, yeah, when it does that, it just stretches that time frame out quite a bit, right? If you're doing it in small chunks, then that time frame really grows to make that.
Well, I think it's a discussion that needs to happen now because it's such a big factor on which one we choose.
Yeah, I felt it's very hard to like, I can't come up with a plan, I just feel like I don't have the whole puzzle, I'm looking at the piece.
And nobody has it at this point.
You know,
This is the-
here's Rachel Fox, well, I don't know,
And when you, who's the math teacher, when you add all these up, the combination of master plans is true. I don't know, 100? I don't know. So we just want to get a pulse out right now as a starting point, instead of saying, here's 100 plans. We just want to get a pulse on like what your preferences are. Like you all feel good about a new, maybe not, a new PK4 or select renovations of the high school. So we have a starting point now, and then we can start diving deeper into the details.
Yeah, I think the middle schools are the worst. You're right, I mean, it's just like, it's terrible.
Our PowerPoint is frozen, so, but we're about to go into group work a little bit late.
Are we allowed to have a meeting where we just let it flow and do questions, or is that like?
If you, no, there's no, yeah.
Yeah.
And please feel free to filter us questions. What we're starting to do from the last meeting is gather the questions. We're gonna put up a running Q&A.
we'll do a one-on-one.
Okay, that is a good suggestion. So we will build that into the training. Okay.
Do you want to do that, or do you want to? I mean, we have 9 tables back there, right? So a lot of times what we'll do is we just count off. So you don't have to think about where you're going to sit. So like you're number 1, 2, 3, and we go all the way through, and that determines where you sit at the table, and no one has to think about where they're going. So we want to do that? Sure.
She turned red. Okay, then everybody filter back. There's information on the table, so explain it really quickly as possible. Master plan options that you feel like we should further explore, and even go ahead and tell us about the sites that you prefer right now. I know we have to dive deeper into those. So we do want to know what your priority is. You have all the information in front of you as well as the enrollment projections. But all the pieces of the puzzle, when you put them together, should add up to the 25 Go ahead, how long?
So we're just ultimately funneling it into the suggested plan.
Yeah, we come up like.
You would replace all the schools, to the middle schools, individual sites.
A lot of this is spitballing, I mean, because we just don't know a lot of it. We did this at a meeting a couple weeks ago, and we heard a lot of, I mean, you saw the one that came out, it was last week's meeting, where we just came up with the overall consensus, I would say. It wasn't perfect for any one table, but it was kind of what we did. There are a couple other options out there that I had seen that I had thought of. I was a pre-K-8 guy on one campus, and thought it would solve a lot of problems for the district. I'm also looking at it from a teacher standpoint and a practicality standpoint from an administrator and what would work best from an education standpoint. But one of the suggestions especially given the lack of property, we don't know where that is yet. I know that you're not going to love this, but the one is, hey, you know what? Occupied. Was to consider the Shields Road property and putting a pre-K-4 building there. And a new build, that would be new construction. Second one, and this is all thought out in phases. The second phase would be to actually take the middle school existing property, building, level it, raise it, and then build new 5-3 on there. While they're doing that though, those students, the middle school students, would go into the existing elementary schools. 7 or 8 would go to Hilltop, 5-6 would go to CH, and the elementary kids would be in the elementary building. So you would negate needing to get portables and spending money on getting all those portables. And the final phase would be high school, just renovating whatever was needed on high school and possibly repurposing Hilltop to house busing, transportation, all of that. As far as like what that looks like, you know, the ugly numbers, I don't know, we have to see. The only problem I have with that is the Shields Road property.
There's no telling.
Just trying to get in and out of coaching is enough of that. You know, one of the things that I would like to do is I don't know if we've ever even thought of this, buying up the property out here all the way to campus, somebody in middle school property, on that property, all those when they turn this down 3 to 1, and then just take a Hilltop and put an addition and Hilltop. House pre-K 5 or whatever. So what we're going to have to go through for Shields Road to get traffic patterns rechanged with the state is going to be.
You guys would like to set any questions?
I mean, I'm against it too. But a little more than that, it's that traffic.
The caveat, working for my name is Chris. Actually, it's not where it is.
The same 20 to 25
My background
people
is
show
civil
up.
engineering.
That's right. That's right. What do they tell you?
Site civil stuff, developing sites like this. So the caveat people don't think about, when the superintendent talked about these utilities here, it doesn't matter. There's line going there, competition of water. We got some commercial properties here, but the water needed for a school is a big pool. You have enough sewer, so being close to the source of the water. You guys good? Do you have any questions? Being close to the source of the sanitary district, being close to the source of the water. Like if you already have a middle school there, you have elementary school there, you're going to have probably the water. So just saying there, there's enough water here. I just did a project for United High School down in Columbiana County. They could stay on the same site, but they increased their gas load. They're like, well, we already have the gas, it should be fine. No, they got stuck with $150,000 because of how much they increased it by. So those are the things that a lot of people don't think about. Is that the electric capabilities out there. Those just don't come free. Those costs add up. So you can tie in if it's there, but it doesn't mean that you don't have I like mine actually was doing research near the school sites. But looking at the original levy was 107, failed. It was 107 million minor renovations to the high school, which was well, it's HVAC, each room, looking at their cost to build new schools. You're talking $6 million difference. We can get all brand new schools. We already know what that costs. Yeah, $6 million different, but we roughly know what that's going to cost the taxpayers. This is my issue. Putting all that money into a building which is going to continue to further falls after anything is done. Ruth, how many times can you retard? Exactly. Before it's
The problem is, but you're talking about the baseball building then? The problem is the amount of money that would cost. That was like the pie in the sky first. And then as we get into these numbers that you're talking about, then all of a sudden the reality set in that we can't afford, like we wanted to get into Escalade, but we don't have the approval to get that much money to build that. We take this so far down the road, there's so much we need.
Maybe not necessarily one big building. Like, I hate to use Austin Town as an example. I moved from Austin Town because I don't work in that system for some reason. I have a family with curriculum. I'm from Austin. I have a family with curriculum. My cousins are curriculum. I mean, I just wanted to beautiful. I know that property existed.
Right. They had all that property there. They built on the site. But it wasn't so far out, but they made a same kind
Where exactly was that out?
Yeah, behind the new Millennium Homes that they're building.
Oh, that's so far away.
But, and that was a big property, and it was a when you take the reverse of that, right? The Shields Road property is just as far from the other side of it. There was some people that lived up there that did not want to school by there, and they found a way to get really spooky.
They knew the news.
And the gas line was just like, hey, look, we got existing gas lines on properties there.
I'm beginning to learn that people that live in this area are in fear of burying themselves with taxes. But it's not all about
one of the biggest problems we have, especially in the city, retirees and elderly that don't have kids in the schools or grandchildren. And Mike and I are right at that stage. My youngest is graduating this year, and people are like, lots of schools. And I'm saying, all part of the community, no matter what, but taking that into consideration, the township is where the younger fans will live. The ones with little kids don't live.
Not the land, but the people in town are dealing with where I moved to. I'm a street into the city. The next street over. So that's what
I gotta know so I can put a time on it.
Charleston Court, off of Alabaster, so it's in the run. Street over, Lake Wobegon and Basin and Fairfax and those.
And that's an odd line.
The problem with saying no to the farm property that we have, if you say no to the Shields Road property, basically the decision has been made that you got Rumble Middle School to rebuild on the footprint of the old building. Right, we've shoehorned ourselves into that option.
You're talking
available if we do it right.
Yeah.
And one of the things, and I said this before, we have somebody interested in developing this is where the city, the schools, the township, we all have to work together. Yeah, and is the city willing to make a deal with, and I'll just use this as an example. We have the schools tear down middle school and you can give us the property so we can put a senior center on this property. We, in turn, make a deal with the developer for right. We give him so much property. In return, he buys up, let's say, a property out of 224. We make that deal
So you're talking
to get things working around.
To make sure I'm clear, you're talking about like this portion of the property.
You've got Antonetta's, the car wash, put this out. But see, they would get money in the school. And if they're a private investor, go with it. And honestly, let's use some both cases. And then it turns around, sells it to the school. Their price is good. You keep it at fair market value, and walk in and say, hey, I'm interested in buying this piece of property. How much do you want? And then work that out. I guess that's, and I mean, it's a backdoor way of doing things. I'm a north side Brian Hiller. If we didn't do things by the back door, you didn't do it.
I think like the deal.
I think we gotta come up with a plan that, you know, with the properties that we have existing, you know, and then what we know, and then.
Well, like my plan is, the city was all interested in getting that middle school property. There's Fair Park property
Fair Park was bought by state money, and it's got to always, it's written in the deed, it always has to be. I looked into that, because that was my, right there was my goal. I thought Fair Park, it's in the city, right center located still, allows the kids to walk over to the Dairy Queen, hopefully they're much longer, but walk over to the Dairy Queen and do all that. And still give us that access to all that. What about the experimental application? That's on the move.
Can we just take that?
What about the landing strip at the that guy lived in itself? You know, sell that property. That's what that would have been great by the
What you just mentioned.
It looks like there's power outlets.
Because we bought it with state money.
Yes.
There's a caveat to the people who talk about
Right to the side.
feed their gas supply. All those wells are in those fields up there that all have lines going God knows who knows where.
Much louder.
We'll start reporting out.
So Miranda's gonna call each table up here, spokesperson or multiple spokespersons come up, put your board on the easel and explain what your plan is, what your priorities are, and your thoughts.
Write your table number on your board too when you come up.
Table number on your board.
You already blew it.
Table number one.
Well, we thought this was a pretty simple solution. Step number one is we need a new middle school. We're going to put that at the Shields Road property. We also, what was that?
LFI.
What's that stand for?
Locally
Funded initiative. We would also like an extra gym. So, you know, because I think in the standard plan, it was just gonna be one gym. So we want an extra gym there, so that might be a locally funded initiative, but we have that in there at 37 million.
What middle school grades?
It's gonna be 5th through 8th. Grades 5 through 8. Okay? I think the second step, because we didn't quite put these in the right order probably, but second step in priority here is to then take care of a new, so we're gonna build a new middle school, get that up, get that operating, get that property going, and we're gonna move the current middle school kids over to that property. Now, then, what we're gonna do is take this property at the middle school in Wadsworth, we're gonna demo it, knock it down, build a new PK through 4 elementary school, state-of-the-art, 35.2 million on the Wadsworth Street. We're gonna keep the bus garage there for now. We're going to keep the parking lots. We're gonna have everything we have over there, but that's what's gonna go on over there. So we're gonna be able to keep, the idea there is to keep the middle school, in going while we build our middle school. Then we're gonna move, then we're going to demo, we're gonna have our elementary school still operating, and then we're going to build the new elementary school and then put the kids in the new elementary school, and then we're going to take care of using Hilltop and possibly repurpose it to some special need or administrative offices, something like that. We also want to do a high school renovation. That would be 30 million. We feel that, you know, you guys, I think we saw 20 to 50. We picked a number in the middle. We thought 30 million probably works there. So that gives us a total for these 3 properties, these 3 buildings, 102, 103 million before you get your reassessed increases here coming up. And then the CH property, you know, we really felt demoing and selling the property, selling and leasing it, not sure if that's even a possibility, but we put it down there like that. So we think that's the solution.
And one of the reasons we went with this, we know it's a high cost, but you gotta remember that we're asking for a very long-term levy. And would the elementary schools and the high school without renovations make it 40 years with no money? So, no, they're not. We're gonna have to do something, so.
Just a comment that abatement and stuff isn't in there though, too.
No, and that's a couple, you know, on the numbers we saw back when we looked at it before, you're talking a couple million.
Per school.
So, I mean, you know, in the scheme of things, it's a couple percentage, 3%, 4% of total cost, so yeah, but I think we can handle it.
Yeah, those are on the cards, actually, on the sheet, those
And the overall dollar amount was a topic of contention, but the biggest topic of contention was location. That was embedded in everybody's head, that nobody wanted that location. So with the split up of the properties and being able to use the areas we have, maybe we have a better shot, you know, explaining this or a new plan to somebody and maybe getting some reinforced commitment from the people involved that, you know, maybe didn't like the plan in the beginning, that maybe that helps give the message out to the other people so that now they understand why and everybody feels better about these locations.
Absolutely, Josh. And the other thing too is the timeline here. Obviously, this isn't happening in 2 years. Talking to our expert GM here at the table, this is probably a 5 to 7 year project. Every bit of 5 to 7 years, probably closer to 7.
That was my question really for Cheryl, because we talked about this once before. Are we allowed to put a levy on, collect money, but then for a project and then not start one building, move kids, and then start another? Or do we have to start it all up front? Because that's a discussion I'm sure happening at a lot of tables, because I know we talked a lot about it. So are we allowed to do that, or are we not allowed to do that?
Initial feedback that I got was yes, but what you're gonna have to do is those buildings that are going to be constructed in the latter half are now gonna cost a lot more than they would be today. You have to pay 100% and make sure we raise that in that bond levy. We're actually forecasting and projecting what those costs would be for those later stages, which there's risk in that, but that's how that would ideally play out.
for, according to the recommendations for a K-4, we would need about 20 acres. And I know it's a recommendation, not a requirement, but at the middle school property, you have, what, 9 on one side of the road and 3 on the other.
Well, you know, they do say 20 acres, but that's K through 8. I'm looking at this.
Yeah, I am too.
Okay, so it's K through 8. So we figured K through 8's half. So we feel like, we feel that's a recommendation, but we could fit that
If you
plenty
add
on
up
the property we
the
have.
projected enrollment for each grade, for K through 4, you have about 953 kids.
Okay. Right, so we would need 10 more acres, so 28.
So it'd be 28.
You wanna go next? Okay.
I did the same calculation.
We have to go up.
Yes,
Up there, this is our plan. That actually, you guys.
Alright, so we have something very similar, we came up with a similar idea for the elementary school. Our first priority is CVMS, like everybody else's. We, instead of using the Shields Road location, because, I mean, I know it's out there and it's on the table, but I don't think, in my own personal opinion, it's gonna happen, so. There's just a lot of logistics that go with that, taxes, all kinds of inner things that many of us are not thinking about. So if you build the CVMS at the Hilltop location, trying to build up off to the left of the area and doing something around that pipeline to make the building work 5 through 8, and you keep Hilltop in place at the time. I know everybody's thinking parking, driving, drop off, pick up, all of that. It's all going to be a nightmare for this entire process. So it doesn't matter where you move things unless you were to move to a totally new location. It's all going to be a nightmare. It's gonna have to be just managed for the time being. So if you move to Hilltop, CVMS to Hilltop, build it up, there is enough space. Then you demo, get rid of CVMS, like you said. We also have the elementary school going in that location. So yes, we figured out 20 acres, build it up instead of out. You can fit that number of students and what you need there. Keep the bus garage where it is for now. High school, select renovations. We recommend, if Shields is not used, sell it. If they said it was $400,000+, get rid of it and bring that money in to use for the district. Let's not hold on to it. Another questions that we have, Fair Park is a huge thing in the back of my mind. Why can we not, or can we look into Fair Park?
I can answer that for
Anthony
you
knows.
right now.
Go ahead.
Fair Park was bought by state money,
Okay.
and in the deed, it's written because it was state money used to buy the park, it has to remain a park.
So does that area have to remain a park, or does Fair Park
All
have to remain
20,
any?
all 20 acres that were purchased have to remain.
Is that the same for Graceville? That was my question.
Greasel, I don't know. I do know Fair Park, that's the biggest problem. You use state money to buy Fair Park, and state money, and it required that it was written in the deed, it needs to remain a park.
So my own personal questions were Fair Park and Greasel Park. Fair Park we chose to write down because it is the largest.
Yeah.
So our thought was, what can we do with it, and then move Fair Park to where maybe Hilltop or CH is. Greasel Park is not quite as big, but again, you can go up and then you still move the park. So that, those are just
I've
options.
been looking at Greasel, but I do know, like I said, Fair Park is off.
Okay. Is 3 and 12 totally off the table, and other sites that are not on the paper because we're spending all this time doing it when we're gonna hear about other sites? That's it.
Table number 2, wanna go?
Sure.
All right, so we looked at a couple of different plans here. I think we started with what we can agree on, which was select renovations at the high school. Some of us talked about kind of the importance of, and I'm paraphrasing a bit, but some type of transparent and I think very mandatory maintenance plan for the, like this older building, you know, I didn't want to put an exact dollar amount because we don't really know that yet. And I think when it came to what our priorities are, that dollar amount is going to change in a week and then 2 weeks and further on. But we all kind of agreed renovations at the high school. And the other thing we all agreed on was just a new middle school, tearing down the old one, doing a new middle school, which is what everyone said. We kind of looked at the same plans that were already mentioned. Is there enough space at the Hilltop site to maybe consolidate K through 8? Is there enough space to consolidate just pre-K or K to 4 at the Hilltop space? You know, looking at those options were things that we considered. I think generally we were pretty attached to the middle school slot there. You know, is there room to, say, build a new building on that same property and keep the old one as swing space until the new one's built? Are there adjacent properties we could purchase to make that lot bigger? Something that we thought about is, could we perhaps put a bus garage on Shields? I don't know if that conversation's happened. Would that allow us to utilize some of what is now bus garage and parking at the middle school slot for the new building or something like that? And we also didn't know, would the road requirements be lesser if it was for a bus garage and not for a school? I don't know, just kind of spitballing here. That was kind of it. I think we're on the same page as the other groups in regards to the renovating, the new middle school, just depending on what spot works best, can we build up, that kind of thing. And then like the other group said, what would happen to CH? Could we use that as swing space while we're maybe tearing down the middle school to educate kids in so we don't have to do trailers? Could we sell that lot off? There were some concerns at our table about what that lot would be used for and what the district would sell it to and how much control we have over that. I think that's really about it. Trying to be brief here. Does that feel accurate?
How much? What was your total?
So I don't know that we put a lot of stock in that. Well, we did. I think someone mentioned. I think it was in like the mid-90s. I think we were trying to keep it as close to 1 or below as we could. But I think at this point the money are just kind of numbers, you know, until we get to specifics here. All right, thanks.
Thank you.
Table number 4.
This group kind of maybe thought outside the box quite a bit. So our first option is a pre-K 6 on the existing Hilltop property, a new 7 and 8 on the existing high school property, but that's by buying up the property going south of the high school to Route 224, and then renovating the high school or modifying the high school if need be. A second option was, once again, a pre-K 6 on the existing Hilltop, still keeping a 7-8 here on the existing high school property, but that's again buying up the property going south to 224, and then building a new high school here on the existing property. Neither of those, we had no cost figure on either of those two. The third option was a pre-K 4 building at the Shields Road land site, a new 5-8 complex on the existing property at the middle school, modifications here to the high school, and then repurpose the Hilltop area for administration buildings and or transportation bus garage type thing. And that we figured was about a $68.4 million price tag for that one.
Forgive me, because I was having multiple conversations. Did you outline what the priority piece out of all of these options? Like what if we, what should we do first as a priority?
I don't know if we figured
Well, and I'm not going to claim this to be my plan, but I liked it. But only because of the logistics of it, and I think it fits a lot of different pieces of the puzzle. And that was to build the pre-K 4 building on the Shields Road property, and once that's finished, you would push your elementary students into that building, and then you would take the middle school students in we'll call it phase 2, and put grades, let's just say 7, 8 in Hilltop, grades 5 and 6 in CH, and you would build the new 5-8 building on the existing site. So you would have a place to put those students while you're building the middle school. Once that's finished, then phase 3, for lack of a better description, would be to take Hilltop and put admin in there and put our transportation department up in the Hilltop property. So I was using existing properties. We were just thinking of stuff we had, not knowing a lot of information. There are a lot of pieces missing.
I think the middle school is similar to the other groups, still priority with these, the first two options, it allows you to start the 7-8 property here on the high school property, and you can start in the open area of Hilltop, building a school while still operating the school. I'm leaning towards the Shields property. Someone asked earlier about landmines. Having utilities there doesn't mean there's enough utilities to serve a new school. It could be hundreds of thousands of dollars per utility that you don't know there. I work for the gas company. United's building a new school on the exact same property, more gas appliances. They just got stuck with a bill for $150,000. You get credit from most gas companies for what you're using above and beyond, but that's $150,000 you didn't tack on. That's gas. You don't know if there's water there. You don't know how much water's going there. You don't know how much sewer's going there.
Yeah, and that was the whole point of this exercise, was to get some starting points so that we can now dive deep into these sites and see what additional impact, cost impact, or scope impact there would be. So that's the goal you guys would get.
Put in your mind, utilities being there doesn't always mean that you have enough capacity, and those costs go up real quick.
Thank you.
Team 5, would you like to present?
We had a very interesting discussion. Did not probably do anything like all of you did, so, but we're gonna talk through it. We really spent a lot of time just kind of talking about, our main concern goes back to why did the voters not push it through last time? We know location was a big issue, but we also know money was an issue. And that is a discussion that I feel like a lot of the groups are not really taking into consideration, or you're taking into consideration, but we're still looking at that high price tag of $100 million. And so to us, that's a huge thing that we need to focus on. We need to get a plan together that we can get our costs down. The voters will never vote for $100 million in our community. It's just not gonna happen. We have too many, that are retired and living off of fixed incomes. It's not gonna happen. I think our group was still talking about, like, are we still off on a K-8? We want to, our group, I think for the most part, is not in favor of campus type styles. We really need to kind of look at our sites and know, what we can build on, what we have room for. Some of our people in our group are still not real clear about wanting to walk away from certain buildings, like Hilltop. They feel like, we're walking away from good buildings. And so it's hard to look at those numbers, I think, and see, okay, well, it is cheaper to build than it is to renovate in some situations, but you have viable buildings, and can we somehow use those buildings and get our costs down? We're looking at numbers that are being provided to us, and we don't know all the details to all those numbers. So I think that's important. But I think it goes back to, not only did it fail the first time at 3-1, but also our renewal. I mean, we gotta go back to that. That renewal had nothing to do with new buildings. It was about about just having money to operate our building. And so I think we need to go back to that. And that tells you right there that we barely passed our renewal. And it goes back to the community has a concern about money. So how do we go back and ask them for $100 million, even if we have a different plan? So we then kind of started talking about our plans. We talked about, really looking at that middle school. I think everybody, for the most part, at our table agreed that the middle school is a priority. We've talked about a 5-8 building somewhere, whether it be on the new property. We talked also, like some of the other groups, about moving the 7th and 8th grade to the high school, adding that on, and then maybe doing a 6-8 building. We talked about adding, Hilltop, adding on and doing 5th and 6th over there. So we pretty much threw all these ideas out. We were really just brainstorming a lot of different things. I think we all agree that there is some benefit to consolidating buildings because shared resources, but I think a lot of people still kind of want to keep those, we don't want a K-12, really don't want, 2 buildings. We would like to try to keep as many, the grades separated as much as we can. But what a lot of us like at our table, I don't say I want to speak for everyone, is that kind of going to the community and coming up with 3 plans and saying option A, option B, option C, because we all are kind of in different places with that, and different amounts, having different amounts of money tied to these. and letting the voters, the people speak and say, yes, I will support this, but I can't support that, it's too much money. I think Poland is doing a very similar plan to that right now. They had like a blue plan, a white plan, or whatever, and I kind of like that idea. I mean, because the people in this building all have a vested interest in what's going on here. That's why we're here. But there's a lot of people out in this community that don't, and to them, it's all about the $90. So, did I do a good job?
Excellent,
Great
excellent.
job.
Okay.
When you get back, if you could just write your table number at the top of the.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you very much.
So you're proposing the 3 multiple plans, that would actually be 3 items on the ballot that the community could vote for?
No, like, like survey the community
Survey.
first, and then from that, take that to whatever that plan is. But I think you need to get out and try to almost reach every person, even if it's like knocking on doors. That's what I said to Mr. Knoll, like, we gotta get knocking on the doors to these people that aren't here, that aren't involved, aren't getting the messages, that aren't, yeah.
Well, yeah, push the social media, and then the senior stuff, like, whatever they're doing, go to those events, they go to dinners, their sneaker stuff, like, whatever it is. Any community events going on in the community, somebody should be there talking about it.
Right.
I don't think that happened last time.
We can't make this decision in a vacuum. If you go back to those top items, probably the biggest thing was need. Majority of us, including myself, never heard that there was such a strong need to walk away from 3 buildings. I lived here 35 years. Nobody, any Board of Education ever said. And all of a sudden it's popped on me in January of last year. We need to walk away from, we need to do what? And we need to build a campus? That was taken by surprise. So need probably should be moved up above money. People say, what's going on? Look at the awards the district's getting. We need to replace 3 buildings. We only have 4. We need to replace 3 of them, 75% of it. We can't do any of this without really considering what's up there on top. Because we failed once, miserably. Okay, you get one opportunity to make a good impression with the voters. And we screwed it up the first time, 3-1.
But we also
and they come back and tell us the second time, we don't want you to have the money that we've been giving you all along. That's strike 2. You come back a third time, we open up the buildings, the 4 buildings, for tours, Q&As. They don't show up. And I'll tell you who really voted this down are the people who have money. If you study the results of the levy, it's everybody from Palmyra Road east, or I should say west. You have Mapleville, you have Summerwind, which is a retirement community of hundreds of homes, brand new homes. You go down to Lydia Drive where the money's at. You go to a couple other developments off of 62. Those people have money. They voted it down 80%. 80%. So it's not all about money. There's other issues that need to do this.
One of the other things that we talked about. One of the other things that we talked about, I thought was really good, was that it's our job as a group to educate the community on what the needs are and what was available out there. That's what our job is. So that's kind of how I'm taking it from this one.
Thank you.
Oh, he's not already, come on.
Sorry about my bad mistake. All right, with our master plans over here, we got 3 options. One's a secret, though. Well, and I'd like everyone to turn to page 2 of your handout. Option number 1 is highly dependent off of us figuring out maybe some kind of acquirement with that parcel right to the left of Hilltop there. There's 2 properties, 2 different owners. Part of that will be figuring out there's 100+ acres there. So right off Hilltop there, if we can acquire some of that or all of it, then you build a middle school there with access to Route 46. You got sidewalks there. That's a bonus, as Bree pointed out. And it's close to town. It's inside the city. That much room gives you the option for a full campus, if you wanted to, or for a high school down the road. You build a middle school there, you build a K-4, and you repurpose Hilltop for the administration. Let's give them a nice little place to sit. You sell your Shields and the middle school properties, and then you renovate your high school. So all in all, you're about $78 million if you do some of the math there, which, I mean, obviously, being in marketing, I'm a great math person. Master plan number 2, your middle school on Shields Road. Great option. I really like the garage idea over there. And then you have a K-4 on the middle school property. You sell CH and Hilltop. your master plan number 3, we got into the conversation. There was a lot of talk about all those greedy bastards down there where the fair's at. So we don't want to go into that, but they're property hogs down there. But that would be a great spot for everything. So we didn't do that. I will say though, speaking after table 5 over there, I think a lot of this does have to do with marketing. I think how you sell your plan. I think you have to show people what you're giving them too. We're giving them a number, a big ass number. Nobody likes to see that, but if we show them the school, we show them what we're going to put our kids into. I'm only here because I have kids that only maybe a third of them are going to see whatever we do. I'm still into it because I'm a property owner, I'm a homeowner. So you have to sell me on the idea of what you're giving the community. We have to show them something. Not land, not numbers, an actual physical building, a mock-up. That's how we do it down at YSU, and we raise all kind of money. It helps to have trestle, but those are things too. So that's our plan. I mean, hell of a presentation, thank you.
How about the 100 acres on Hilltop? What was the plan there?
Acquire it.
Like from the mics?
I'm not saying names. I'm
Okay.
saying that's
Whoever owns it.
Whoever owns it.
Where am I doing this? He's talking about this.
All right, we went against the norm and we went landscape here with ours, so gonna keep this very brief for everybody. We talked about a lot of different things and we were having trouble centering in on specific things, but there were a few themes that kept coming up within our group. One of the big ones was that our priority is the middle school and the fact that we need to start over there and we need a new building. That's the one big thing that we came to the conclusion of. Using Shields Road, if we are using our current properties that we have, we were open to expanding and looking at other properties throughout Canfield City or Township. However, if we're using current existing, keeping that one at Shields. Elementary, again, flexible with how we would look at it, but wanted it to be combined one way or another. So K4 building that is all combined. Using Hilltop if we use current property and expanding on that location, or again, open to other properties and putting it in a separate location as well. And then high school, just looking at select renovations there for 9 to 12 as needed to get us through until the next phase kicks in.
Great job.
And we just have 9 left.
So we're group 9, and first thing that we started to talk about was a little bit about needs and how we feel that the community will support this. So our goal was basically seeing how we could get our schools onto 2 sites. So what we looked at was our 2 buildings that have the best value in regards to the current state of condition and their locations. So we looked at 2 different options. Option 1 was Hilltop for either a PK5 or a PK6, with the high school either being a 612 or a 712. And then option number 2 was very similar, just do we build a new PK5 or PK6 and go to a, same thing with the high school, a 612 or a 712, meaning that the renovations here would include the addition of 2 or 3 grades depending on grade realignment and what the direction of education of what the district is. So we thought that that was something that was not quite up there in regards to cost for construction, but also provided opportunity for all grades so that it's not just about either the middle school kids or the elementary school kids, but also adding value to the high school and to the high school property.
Great job.
Like that.
So those are 2 models that I don't think we have simulated on your papers that you were giving out, but we will put some those graded. So Ryan?
Yeah, thank you so much for your comments and this exercise, going through this exercise with us. At this point, what we're going to do is kind of take a lot of these boards, we'll photograph it and make this information available afterwards. Our next meeting is scheduled for February 23rd. And I know as we talked about here, we want to take a look at some of these ideas, to dive in a little bit more deeply, to look at them and continue to flesh them out, also including potential other sites. You know, all of that is in the discussion as this process moves forward. So I think this gives us a really good starting point for kind of moving forward in the process. So because tonight is done, I know we had some homework as far as guiding principles goes. If anyone wrote on that and brought it, you can drop it off up here on the side. Otherwise, we will have that Google link sent around again, so you can fill that information out, get it up on the website. Some more information regarding homework over the next 2 weeks will be forthcoming. But again, as we talked about a little bit as we were getting into almost like a Q&A over here, we're going to create a form so that we can log some of those very specific questions. Because I know probably many of us have those, but we want to capture that, and if there are specifics, answer those, especially to this group. So we will provide a form so we can do that. And then at the beginning of meetings or throughout these meetings, we'll try to address those very succinctly. And again, if it's worth putting that up broadly for the community to see, then that information can be released as well. So thank you very much. We look forward to seeing you all back February 23rd. That's a Thursday. The last two have been Tuesdays, so it does switch. So we'll see you back February 23rd. Thank you so much.